Okay, starting to see the attendees roll in from our keynote. So we will go ahead and get started. Welcome everyone. Very quickly before we kick it off, I do want to go over just some general rules and reminders for today's event. First and foremost, all panel sessions are being recorded, so please be sure to keep your camera off. If your face, if you turn your camera on, there's a chance your face may be included in the recording, so just want to make sure everyone's aware of that. Microphones will also be disabled throughout the panel session, and that's where that chat feature will come into play. Be sure to utilize the chat for any comments or questions you have throughout the panel, and there should be time for Q&A at the end of the panel where we will grab questions from the chat. Later, when we do get to Q&A, if you have a really good question you want to ask off of mute, we can use the raise your hand feature, and I can allow you to unmute yourself and ask your question. I'm not going to waste any time here. I'm sure we have a ton of great content today. I'm going to kick it right over to our moderator, Cindy, who's going to introduce our panelists. Take it away, Cindy.
All right, thank you. Good morning, everyone. I am Cindy Reed. I'm the Deputy Director of KentuckianaWorks, and KentuckianaWorks is the Workforce Development Board for Louisville and 6 surrounding counties in Kentucky, and we focus on supporting 2 primary customers, job seekers and employers. And before I introduce the speakers, I just want to tell a quick story. One of my roles that I enjoy so very much is I staff a group of manufacturing employers. We meet monthly. Like everyone else, back about a year ago, we shifted from meeting in person to meeting virtually. And I was quite struck. This is a group of 40 to 45 employers that regularly attend. All the CDC guidelines were out. The governor had issued Healthy at Work guidelines, and they had quickly been named essential because we all know manufacturing is essential. Amazon has to have something to deliver, and we have people in our group that manufacture flooring for Amazon, labels for Clorox. Everybody was using Clorox. We have bourbon distillers, my heaven. We know that was very important during this pandemic. And the other thing we found out is everybody was very focused on their appliances all of a sudden. And one of our presenters today will note, I mean, they could not keep the appliances coming quickly enough. So they were all essential, and they were very focused on health and safety for their employees because the CDC guidelines or the local guidelines would shut you down. And at one point, the head, Lee Lingo, who's the head of the Kentucky Association of Manufacturing, made a point. He said, look, we can do this. We can make this pivot because what manufacturing does is processes. We're really good at processes. So we're going to figure out new processes that work during this pandemic. And I just tell that story because that's really what we're going to be talking about today is processes. We're going to be focusing on other impacts that predated the pandemic and some that have actually been affected by the pandemic. Artificial intelligence, or AI, is certainly changing the way we make things. And as the session title suggests, the types of products we're making are also driving the change. More and more products are themselves smart. So what kinds of challenges does that present as we design and manage manufacturing processes? What tools are needed? What tools are smart? What changes are we seeing in manufacturing due to these trends? And then that always leads to what kinds of skill sets are now needed in the workforce that maybe weren't needed before. So we've got an excellent panel to answer these questions today. Alfredo Rodriquez, Head of Operations for Rail Infrastructure for Siemens Mobility. Samuel Seelam, Global Digital COE Leader and India IT Head for GE Appliances, a hire company. And Melanie Wallace, HR Director for Siemens Mobility. So we're going to start out, I'm going to have everybody tell a little more about themselves, and I'm going to start with Alfredo, and I'm going to commit that sin of asking a two-part question. So I'll help you keep track of it. But first, tell us a little bit about Siemens Mobility. Siemens is certainly a well-known name, and I've always associated it with a high standard of technical excellence. But what is Siemens Mobility specifically? And then second, Alfredo, if you can tell us about your role at Siemens, what is the big picture of your jobs, and what kinds of issues would you be addressing on a typical day?
Got it, Cindy. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Okay, great. So Siemens Mobility, to your point, we are in the rail infrastructure business. So what that means is we serve our customers with high-end technologies that allow them to obviously from the first mile to the last mile achieve their expectations. Everything that you see here on the screen is examples of what we do in Siemens Mobility, all the way from trains, torque circuit, relays, surge protection, wayside houses that kind of connect and drive performance reliability to the trains, warning bells, crossing gates, you name it. It's just a good example of what we do in Siemens Mobility. Every day, we work very hard to ensure we have the right technologies to ensure our customer satisfaction. We work hard to drive new technologies that's going to allow for better reliability, better maintenance of the products themselves. So that's in a nutshell what we do in Siemens Mobility. Yes. But myself, in a nutshell, I am responsible for the well-being of all the operators in the factories. We have 4 factories in Siemens Mobility, and their safety and their well-being. Second is ensuring customer satisfaction by delivering on time, quality products on cost to our customers.
Okay, great. Thank you. And thank you, Alfredo. And now let's turn to Samuel. And I'd like to ask the same 2 questions. Tell us about GE Appliances and the smart home team that you lead, and what is involved in being the COE leader and India IT lead.
Thank you, Reed, and Alfredo, thank you for that great introduction. I'm part of GE Appliances, and I think most of you are not new to what GE Appliances in it, what it means to Louisville. It's a 70-year-old company. There are thousands of people who are employed there, and Louisville is one of the headquarters. While Louisville is the headquarters for us, every single person working there has a heart for Louisville. The other big piece about what we do and what it meant so differently for us during the pandemic was we were treated as essential. And it kind of dawned on us that it was our responsibility to deliver appliances to people in homes because they needed to clean dishes, to wear clean clothes, and make sure their families were happy and eat the food that everybody kind of was not able to do it together. So that became our key goal for us as an organization. But having said that, in spite of being a large manufacturing, in spite of being a 70-year history, what is our North Star, right? I'll quickly talk about what our North Star is. This is what our North Star is. We are built on purpose to enable happiness and well-being in every home. And this has been our purpose. We've become GE Appliances, a hire company in 2016, and this is when we've crafted this purpose for us. So we wanted to be true to this. And back to what I said happened in the pandemic was exactly this. We were trying to enable happiness and well-being in every single home. And every single person who risked coming to work, but then we had to make sure, like you said, CDC had norms. We had to make sure all the norms were in place so that we can produce much more than we ever could, so that we could deliver on the promise we made to the households in America, because more than 50% of the US households actually have a GE appliance. And so it was our responsibility to make sure we enable happiness and well-being in every home. Now, coming back to what does it mean for us as a smart appliance company, right? A smart appliance company is everybody's been using appliances for so many years. Our grandparents use, our parents used, we are using appliances. So what's so different about smart appliances? But our interactions over the years have changed with our appliances. Our expectations from our appliances have changed. So for us, a smart appliance is how we can provide a robust, scalable, and secure smart home platform so that it can make life easy for us. It can add value to consumers who are in their homes and are using these smart appliances. Now, what you see the graphic on that side is actually a graphic which shows the number of smart home appliances in all of the United States. And that is the spread of how many appliances are there. Now, the one that you see on the right is about having different brands for different needs, right? My needs could be very different from a college goer's needs. Your needs could be very different from a person who's a homemaker to a person who's a busy individual, and for someone who probably loves cooking, or for someone whose hobby is to cook, right? So there are different needs, and so we had to strategize and create brand differentiation for every single person. Now, when you create brand differentiation, it's not about creating a separate logo, but being able to create features that are smart, that are addressing each of the needs of these different brands. And that's what the plethora of brands and the needs in the smart home area are. I'll spend a couple of minutes on this. We talk about the evolution of how smart was. 2008 was when we started looking at smart. We thought we have to do something different. And then we came into the connected home, or we say the home energy management. So we said energy is going to be a big thing. How can we make energy something that we can tap into, provide people the ability to understand how home energy is being used and so on. That was our first foray into doing something intelligent with our appliances. 2013, we created a Wi-Fi enabled embedded wall oven, which means something that could talk on Wi-Fi. Today, everything is Wi-Fi, but 2013, that was kind of innovative. 2016, all our appliances were able to now talk through Alexa. You can just say, Alexa, heat up my oven to 350 degrees. Alexa, can you get hot water ready for a cup of coffee? Alexa, can you switch on, nobody wants to go into the basement to start the washer or the dryer. You can ask Alexa to do it, right? So that was what we did in 2016. Now come down to 2019, we created a Kitchen Hub, which is a state-of-the-art appliance, which is very different from all the appliances. Now, this is an appliance which sits on top of your cooktop, but it has a large screen. It gives you the ability to play music. It gives you the ability to play YouTube. It gives you the ability to see recipes. It gives you the ability to cook and also control other appliances from one particular console. So this has become kind of the control tower for the lady of the house or the man of the house who's cooking, to make sure all your appliances and all your gadgets are being controlled by this central panel. And this is just sitting on top of the cooktop. So you don't need to run here and there to do things. Subsequently, we've launched Smart Home, which is called the headquarters, which means it's a collection of your home, your management, distribution, and service. So we try to create one umbrella where you can get all that you need from GE appliances in one go. But what is key was we were the first appliance manufacturer to be certified by UL with a gold standard for our IoT and our security. Now, also the other first that we did was we became the first appliance manufacturer to provide a SaaS solution, which is a property management solution to property managers so that they can manage a plethora of appliances. Now, I'll stop here and I'll talk briefly about why this is critical, is because once you start leading in the industry, it becomes an uphill task and challenge, because now you're the leader. There's nobody to follow, right? You got to create history every time because you're leading the pack. So you got to innovate and you have to continuously innovate. But that is something that has become part of our DNA, and I'll talk subsequently about how we are able to manage that. But we've been rated 3 times back-to-back as IoT's best company, smart appliance company of the year. I think this year we actually launched one of our assisted cooking, which is on AI. It's one of the ovens that can look into your oven. It can see what is happening and it can make decisions on your behalf. That sounds cool, right? So that is what GE Appliances is all about. And I have the great honor of being able to be part of this organization. But more importantly, you asked me another question. What is my role as digital COE leader? I'm sitting out of India. It's at a very different time zone. But look at the diversity and inclusion that our organization embraces. I'm leading that organization from India. So that's what it is about me and my organization. Thank you, and back to you.
Great, thank you, Samuel. That's fascinating. Let's turn back to Siemens now. Melanie, we heard in Alfredo's presentation a little bit about the company. Tell us a little more about your role as HR director and what your typical day is like.
You're muted, Melanie.
And I think you're muted.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. Hey, everybody, thank you for having me today. Samuel, thank you for the great presentation. Gee, I learned a lot in a few minutes, so that was very helpful. My name is Melanie Wallace. I'm the HR director for Siemens Mobility. Rail Infrastructure is the business that I support. And I'm thinking, like, where do I begin with my day in life in HR at Siemens? But seriously, this is no personnel role. My role at Siemens is what every HR professional aspire in their career, because Siemens operates in an ever-evolving business environment, and our organization must adapt, transform, and be agile to thrive, and collaboration and partnership with HR is key to that. And it's also key to cultivating a robust people management strategy so that the business achieves long-term business success. So as an HR director, me and my team of HR business consultants, we partner daily with leadership in the organization to build a technology-savvy, agile workforce, because people at Siemens, we're thinkers, we're dreamers, and we're doers. And we want to make sure that we're hiring the best talent. And so we hire people that have that courage to bring ideals to life. Every day as a HR director and my team of consultants, we're empowering managers to live this leadership culture, because we know it's key. And we guide our leaders to focus on 4 key capabilities, and that's develop, care, engage, and focus. And these capabilities, we feel, empower our managers to not only develop themselves, but develop their teams, support and motivate their employees, and drive the needed business results. So I have a team of 5 courageous, I call them courageous HR consultants. Their foundation is consultative. They have consultative capabilities and skills that is driven by data, and they have a deep business knowledge, ensuring that they're fostering what we call a growth mindset in the business and driving solutions to address very specific business needs as it relates to our people. And while we always, through this process, having a diversity and inclusion perspective in all of our decisions. So that's a day in the life. It's for us as HR business partners at Siemens. We are very consultative, and we are have a seat at the table with leaders, making sure that we're driving the right key skills and capabilities to manage our workforce to success and our business to success. That's a day in the life with Melanie, and HR director.
Great, thank you, Melanie.
Mm-hmm.
Let's dig a little deeper into Siemens, and I'm going to ask Alfredo a question. What is something the audience would be surprised to know about rail infrastructure, and what has changed in the time you've been involved in the field? What is smart about it?
Thank you, Cindy. Thank you, Melanie, for that. I'll probably argue that everything that we do in Siemens Mobility is smart, Cindy. So when you look at the screen and you look at connectivity with the customers, right? Trying to ensure that from the first mile to the last, we gauge and monitor the performance of the trains and the systems to ensure the safety, well-being, reliability of our products, right? When you look at what we're trying to accomplish, I mean, we're trying to accomplish being carbon neutral by 2030. That means sustainable and reliable, friendly technologies, all the way from electrical and hydrogen on our trains, right? Obviously, we know that high-speed rail, that's something that we want to put very in the U.S., right? So we're working on those technologies to ensure that we bring high-speed rail to the U.S. as well, right? As I mentioned, we have track monitor apps that allow us to view and the performance of our products. But that's not it. I mean, also in the technology front, but also in the manufacturing front. And you can see from my slide that what we do in manufacturing is we're trying to drive a culture of excellence. What that means is doing the ordinary extremely well, right? And we have dashboards that we look at live performance data that allows us to see exactly in our manufacturing KPIs how exactly we're performing on a day-to-day basis, right? When you're talking safety, quality, delivery, and cost, all those key indicators are measured on a daily basis. And from there, we have daily conversations, daily Gemba on what is the critical, because as we know, there's only enough time and enough resources that we have to ensure that the critical is bullseye for us, and we know exactly what to attack and what's going to drive the best value for our customers and for the company. I'm passing it back on, Cindy.
Great. Thank you, Alfredo. Let me ask the same question of Samuel. Now, I feel like, Samuel, you did give us several of those surprising things, but what else would surprise the audience about what's going on at GE Appliances and with your smart tools and so on?
Sure. So I'll try and give you a couple of more examples. For example, from a washer standpoint, right? Everybody washes clothes. Washing clothes has been traditionally something that it's a chore. But when the pandemic came, it was critical that everybody wanted to make sure that their clothes are really well washed so that you don't carry any infection and so on. So GE Appliances already had a sanitized cycle. And it also talks about killing 99% of the germs through the sanitized cycle. Now, this was something that people really, took note of, because it was not for children or for babies, or it was not for the elderly, but everybody started using it. So that was a surprising feature from a washer standpoint, right? Secondly, when you look at refrigeration, our only thought process goes around either your freezer or your cold water. But we introduced a Keurig K-Cup, and you could actually get hot water out of the refrigerator. So that is something surprising. You never think that you'll get a hot water out of. So if you were to make a hot cup of coffee, you could get hot water. You could schedule hot water to come at that particular time and the temperature as well. Now you can brew your coffee fresh every day and get a Keurig coffee from your refrigerator. If you look at an air conditioner, right? We've integrated weather data into it. We've created vacation modes. We've created Sabbath modes into your air conditioner. We've created geolocation. For example, if you go from the vicinity and you create a geographic boundary, you can set your your air conditioner to switch off and so on. So you pick the product line. We've tried to be on the leading edge of innovation on each of these things. So those are the things that surprises individual. Last one I'll give you about cooking, right? We got into understanding that a lot of youngsters like to take hot pockets and cook their food pretty quickly, and they don't have the time to go and hit all the buttons and so on. So what you could do right now, you pick up your mobile phone, take the hot pockets, scan the QR code, and all the instructions of what should be done get fed into your microwave or into your oven. You put the hot pocket in, it boils for whatever, 15 seconds, it cools for whatever, and then it keeps it warm. So all the instructions are going into that. And lastly, the AI thing that I talked about, if you're cooking your pizza and you want it cooked at a particular level of medium or fully done, you can just set that. The oven camera actually looks through it. It figures out when is the right time where it is medium cooked, and it stops the oven. And you can get your notifications on top of it. Now, I'm not going to talk about voice and your ability to get dishwasher pods or to get detergent. All that can be configured, and your appliance directly orders that for you on your behalf. So those are some of the surprising things that appliances can do, which probably most of us are not fully aware of. Back to you.
Thanks. Thank you, Samuel. That's amazing. Let's look a little more deeply into some production processes, how some of the smart tools are feeding that. Now, Alfredo, you gave us a little bit of a overview of that with some of your dashboards and so on. What processes are smarter today than used to be at Siemens?
Exactly. So to that point, Cindy, I believe that manufacturing is a differentiating factor when it comes to that front, right? And what you see here on the screen is just a nutshell of what we do and how we track data that allows us to connect people and allows us to obviously solve problems for the better, right? Quick simple of what we have here is the manufacturing KPIs, which when it comes to manufacturing, I mean, they're very simple and straightforward. They're safety, quality, delivery, and cost. And those are the metrics that we review on a daily basis in detail. What constitutes those metrics or those KPIs, obviously you have a lot more activities or leading indicators that measure the impact on that KPI. And that's exactly what we tend to look at on a daily basis to ensure that we're obviously performing at the level of expectations that we have, right? So here we use SAP data that kind of allows us to understand exactly from a quality perspective how much scrap we have in the factory, how much rework we have in the factory, what are the areas that we have in the scrap and the rework, and exactly what's happening on there. What now from that perspective, what are the tools, or how deep do we need to dig deep to ensure exactly what is happening, and are we addressing the symptoms or the root cause of those losses, right? And then you see from below some of the dashboards that we have on utilization, on inventory, on on-time delivery, and the impact points on our on-time delivery and what exactly is driving maybe not the desired performance. This has been in place with us for quite some time now, and we're pretty proud to say that our performance is world class, right? When we're talking 99% above on-time deliveries, that's something that our customer values. When we're talking, obviously, no customer complaints or zero NCCs, that's something that our customer values. So I believe that these tools, this visibility and data that allows us to connect and obviously attack the issues is what's taken us to the next level.
Great, thanks, Alfredo. Samuel, what about at GEA? What looks different from your perspective, and what has your journey been from a process standpoint?
Yeah, so I'll touch upon a couple of things. And obviously, process has been something that GE has always been really strong about, right? Be it Six Sigma, be it Lean, we've always been pioneers in trying to implement that. If you learn from the automotive industry or we learn from the Toyotas of the world, that's something that we have ingrained into every process within GEA. But I think the larger thing that I want to talk about is the people that actually make the difference, right? And for us to be innovative, for us to be ahead of the game, just by process, you can't make the cut. You need to have process, but you need to have the right kind of people and the right kind of mindset to make you grow. So this combination actually is what is helping us move forward. Now, I've talked about a process, and we have moved to becoming more nimble. We have a heritage of 70 years, but that can become a factor that can pull you back. But we said we are now a higher company, and we are a startup with a 70-year legacy, right? And then we said, how can we be nimble? How can we think nimble? How can we cut the cycle of our new product implementation? What do we do differently? And like I said, a great team. Now, the dependency, when you have a smart feature, it is not that we figured out a smart feature, let's just go ahead and implement it. It impacts your supply chain, it impacts your quality, it impacts your product management, it impacts your consumers and your sales teams. So you have to get a village together to get successful in this, and getting the processes behind bringing everyone together is really critical. Now, the third thing I also talked about, which is also very important, and I touched upon it earlier, is being inclusive and having the diversity. If you have to be innovative, you can't have a stringent, single-minded focus or one way of thinking. Inclusion and diversity is what helps us get innovative, and it helps us refine our processes. You can question a process. Anybody can question a process. And that is what makes you get better at what you do and makes you get more innovative and help you develop products that are really wow or create a wow factor or are surprising your consumers. Back to you.
Great, thank you, Samuel. You've kind of set this up very well to turn to Melanie to talk a little bit about the human resources perspective on this. And we're hearing about all these processes that have been revolutionized by automation and different approaches. How does that impact recruiting employees? And does it change the type of employee you're looking for? And I heard you talk earlier about the wow at Siemens. What does that mean, Melanie?
Okay. Right. Thank you again, Cindy. Yeah, recruiting. So, I mean, it's not so hard for us because, I mean, we do cool things at Siemens Mobility. We build trains, we control train traffic, we keep people safe. So the number one skill set for current and future talent in automation environment is software. And you said it yourself, artificial intelligence. So we have to attract the best talent, and this requires the use of artificial intelligence. And the days of waiting for people to apply for our job postings or search for us on Monster or even LinkedIn, it's just not enough anymore. We had to invest in advanced technology, artificial intelligence to compete effectively because there is a war on talent. And so Siemens, we're a big company, and we have been able to invest in some pretty cool tools like Texio. And Texio, this tool ensures our job postings content creates a memorable experience for the candidates. It makes sure that our postings are gender neutral and is more engaging to a wider audience. And then there's this other tool called Jibe, which is a connection between Google, and it allows information on our posting to be disseminated massively across all platforms where people are searching for jobs. And then we use Rutley. I mean, there's so much artificial intelligence, I could go on. Rutley, now this is a global tool used to launch a lot of graphics and visuals to brand our postings. All of those things attract people to our company, our postings. So artificial intelligence tools like that is key. Additionally, we have at Siemens Rail Infrastructure, we realize that there is a decline in what we call signaling railroad expertise. The railroad's been around forever, and people that are in this industry, their parents and their grandparents were in the industry. It's been around forever. But this is a unique talent and expertise we have to have in signaling. So we have to home grow our talent. So we put in place a 2-year rotational development program for college grads to ensure we are developing a pipeline of signaling railroad expertise. And this program has been very, very successful. We recruit from University of Louisville. We're in 8 locations, so all of our locations we recruit at all of their universities to bring in talent and home grow our talent through a 2-year rotational program. And lastly, I want to talk about what is utmost importance is retaining people once we get them here. And so there is a silver lining which we may not be appropriate to say with COVID. There's kind of a silver lining in this pandemic. Many organizations have figured out that work can be done different, and Siemens is responding to that with what you call the WOW, which is our new normal philosophy. So we aim at 2 to 3 days per week of mobile work permanently wherever possible, enable our employees to choose their most productive and suitable place to work. We've aligned our company culture by promoting a leadership truly based on trust and empowerment of employees independent of face time. And because we want to ensure employees' engagement and well-being by providing greater personal flexibility. So this allows us to attract and retain best talent, build diverse teams for our company, become more resilient and flexible, and walk the talk as a leader in digitalization, and developing a workplace of the future by leveraging new ways of mobile digital collaboration. So as you can see, I am so excited about all these options available to our workforce, because it ensures Siemens is a great place to work for our employees. So that's what we do.
Great. Thanks, Melanie. And I'm going to go ahead and pull a question off the chat because it addressed what you just talked about. Ronald is asking, as part of the agile workforce concept, how much does your company utilize full-time remote workers?
Oh, quite a bit.
Full-time remote.
Oh, quite a bit. Okay. Like, I'm in the office today, but I haven't been in the office in 4 months. So I have locations, I have 7 locations, but I happen to sit here in Louisville, but I could sit in Jacksonville, I could sit in New York, I can sit in Pittsburgh. So this new normal is important to us, and we have been quite profitable and productive during the pandemic, and the majority of our people work from home. So
interesting. Thank you. Well, let's go ahead and wrap up, and then we do have some interesting questions in the chat. I think we would have time, but what I wanted to ask each of you to do in kind of a bullet round, and I'm going to start with Samuel, is to give us, as in the audience, our action items. What do we need to be better prepared for and more effective in this new world that we're operating in?
Yeah, I think 2 things. One, don't be comfortable with where you are. Get used to changing. And at least if the pandemic has taught us one thing, that is about, accommodating change, or actually looking forward to change so that you can do better things. The second thing is people are looking for experiences. Look at the Tesla story, look at the Ubers of the world, any of these. People are, and Peloton, right? It's a cycle, and bicycle and bike, and people pay a lot. That's because of the experience. People are looking for experiences, and that is something that you need to focus on. It's not about what software you have, what hardware you're using, it's about experience, and people will pay a premium for experiences. Thank you.
Alfredo?
No, that's a great message. Thank you, Samuel. I'll probably start with something very similar. I'll probably say have relentless grit, right? That ability to overcome and persevere in spite of how many obstacles or challenges are in front of you. And we all know here in this panel and the 55 people joining us that every day there's challenges. Every day there's an opportunity to make something better. So focus on the critical, persevere a lot, and you will overcome. Thank you.
Thanks, Alfredo. Melanie, your marching orders for us. Oh, you're muted.
I don't know how I keep going to unmute. I apologize that I must be hitting the button. So my marching orders is, if you're a leader out there, foster a growth mindset. Focus on those key capabilities I talked about. Develop not only yourself, your team. Care not only about yourself, your team. Engage, stay focused, and you'll drive those business results. If you're not a leader out there, same thing. Develop, care, engage, and focus. And just be flexible, and really be, think about, when you're thinking about your career, think about, how everything I do aligns with this new world. And don't be afraid to venture out, because my career, I've been in HR 30 years. I know I don't look like it, but I've been there 30 years. But that doesn't mean that I cannot be an operations head and take Alfredo's job. Or that doesn't mean that I can't go into project management. The sky's the limit. Our skills are transferable. It's unlimited opportunity out there. So just thrive and go for it. Take risk.
That's great. Those are great marching orders.
Yep.
And looks like we have some time. There are some questions in the chat. Let's do that before we close up. And the first one looks like it is going to go to Samuel. It's from Hassan Madavi. How has converting to smart appliances impacted the longevity and reliability of devices? And what has the impact on your service and repair partners been? Do you keep data points on how often people utilize the smart features?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And I think I briefly touched about this while I was talking about it, right? As you have smart appliances, one of the key things that they do is they can start helping provide information about the usage and the issues that they're going to encounter. So whatever data that they're generating can be used by the service technicians to repair better, to have a better understanding of what parts need to be replaced or what could be future issues that can happen. So the answer is yes, we are using it for proactive maintenance. For example, if your dishwasher connection of hot and cold pipes have been reversed, the system will tell that this is what is happening, and a notification can be sent to the users, actually with some self-help documentation to fix their own challenge, fix that issue by themselves, or they can call for service. So these are proactive things that can be done. We've also launched a new way of handling service issues where you can have a video call, and this was another thing around the pandemic, where you can do a video call and can diagnose some of the issues that are happening with the appliance so that you don't need to roll a truck to somebody's house. So yes, the answer is that we are able to better utilize the data, but more importantly, increase the reliability and longevity of our appliances by virtue of having smart appliances.
Okay, great. Thank you. You've also got a bit of a shout out, GE Appliances, from someone on my team. He's saying Tobin is saying GE Appliances is getting some nice national press today with the rollout of the new Racing Louisville FC soccer kits. This is a very notable example of GEA's strong investment and association with the Louisville community. So not quite on topic, but a very nice shout out, and we do appreciate it.
It's an honor, and in humility, I accept the good words, because like I said, we are committed to making sure we be a part of the community and always help the community move forward. Thank you so much.
Great. And then Ben Reno Weber has also reminded everybody, based on what Melanie was talking about a bit ago, there's another session at 12:15 where she'll be talking more about some of this, and Siemens in general be a focus on Siemens. And so another question that we have is, and I would say, I would ask this of everybody, talking about career paths and upskilling of your existing workforce. And I'll quickly tell, I'm working with a company now, and they're really struggling because they are just not getting applicants. It is a technical job. We're working on a project that's kind of almost like an apprenticeship, but the company is struggling. They really just want those people to show up with everything that they need, just like ready to go, and they're having trouble finding them. And so I'm kind of interested in what kind of commitment can your companies make to people that might even be your existing workforce, or people outside of your workforce who are mid-career, who are trying to change, that aren't just right out of a program in college. How are you able to take advantage of people that are coming to you like that, and people within your existing workforce? Samuel, you want to start?
Right. I think this has become a right front center, especially during the pandemic. You know, people have lost jobs, and the relevance of some of the jobs hasn't been there, right? But we as an organization, and I can speak for our organization, actually have increased the amount of upskilling that each of our employees can do. And we have launched a new training and development tool and try to cater the training and development needs for every single individual so that you can now cross-train yourself or you can learn other areas which in the past we had never done. So the commitment to make sure employees grow, employees learn, and employees stay relevant is something that we strongly believe in. And there's a huge push from senior leadership to make sure that everybody's upskilling and staying up with the trends, because if you have to be on top of the innovation curve, you cannot not have the skills with the latest and the greatest. Back to you, Cindy.
Yes, Alfredo, what are your thoughts about upskilling? Now, Melanie touched on it a little bit because she might be after your job, so watch out. But how do you encourage upskilling within the folks that work with you?
No, that is a very prevalent conversation that we have in Siemens, Cindy. As Melanie mentioned, is that growth mindset that we try to incur with, and ensure that all our employees have that constant development, that constant drive to keep learning. What we say to our people is, what are those what are those things that we want to accomplish in our career? What is that purpose that we want to every day? What do we get up and try to accomplish when we go to our jobs, right? And I think if we have a pretty good purpose and set in mind, and then our people understand exactly those strengths and capabilities, and then from there, what is the next path, right? What are those next paths that can allow further to develop careers and so forth. And I know Melanie touched on some of those maybe development programs that we have, and we do have a lot of them here in Siemens, so it works well for us.
Yes.
Great. Melanie, you touched on it before, but anything else to add about upskilling of the existing workforce?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we foster a growth mindset. I mean, we even have requirements that you have to meet a certain amount of learning hours per year, because we know is that important. And oftentimes people can't seem to find the time. So we make sure that they find the time. It's a requirement. We build collaboration clubs, learning circles. I mean, there's so much. I mean, we're a pretty big company. There's so many learning options, and we have this platform of My Learning World. We do cross training and internally a lot of I think the collaboration clubs and the circles is working together with each other, learning from each other is a good piece of it, and it helps drive our growth mindset. So that's how you have to do it. You have to put some things in place where employees feel empowered to do that.
Thank you. And Ronald made a comment in the chat, re-upskilling. Melanie made an important point, often overlooked. Skills are transferable. Knowledge is easy to collect. And to kind of applies to, excuse me, what all of you were saying. We had a team member who would add this question whenever he was on an interview team. And the question was, what was the last thing you taught yourself? And he just made up that question. He wanted, and we started incorporating it because I think it's a really good question that kind of gets at, are you a lifelong learner? Are you going to go out and just learn something yourself, or are you going to wait for someone to hand it to you? Okay, here's another question for Samuel. From Ronald. How much smart appliance type AI is used in factory by GE Appliances? Okay,
I think great question. Thank you for bringing that up, right? While we focus more on the consumer side of IoT, there's a huge effort across all industries being done on the factory side of it. So we are also part of the effort on Industry 4.0. And what that means is our ability to gather information from all the machinery that is running, understand what is going well, what is not going well. Alfredo talked about use cases of how they do that on the train line and so on. Similar to that, we do it on the assembly lines, checking whether the parts are meeting quality requirements. When the testing is happening, are they doing well? Robots are moving around the floor. Are they doing what they're supposed to do? Being able to figure out the discrepancies in what should be and what is not, and then being able to trigger actions is what is actually being done in all of our factories. We are at different levels of, I should say, IoT implementations in each of our plants. But some of the latest robots and the IoT implementations are there in our plants as well.
Okay, great. And I don't think we have any more questions in the chat, but kind of the obvious question from a workforce standpoint that since we have a little time, people often say with AI, are we going to do away with the need for human beings in the factory? What is your response when you're asked about that?
I can probably answer that first, Cindy. I mean, when it comes to that, I think the people need will always be there. Tools are tools, and tools are only as effective as the people that use them. At the end of the day, you rely on people, you rely on their knowledge, you rely on their expertise to ensure that we get to the next level. So that's in Siemens what we focus on. And whenever when we have maybe automation or productivity projects, we always try to ensure that we self-invest into maybe other processes, other areas, and with that, obviously, you're developing more, you're cross-training more, and that's beneficial for the employee as well. So it will always be people.
I'd quickly like to add, right? AI, there's a like every other cycle of business. When you had the first computer show up, people thought that there are not going to be jobs anymore. Right, and then when computers were introduced into banking, they said we're not going to have any banking staff. But if you notice, there's always a progression. When computers or AI does something, it actually does it for good. AI will tremendously change productivity. It will improve efficiencies. It will create safety, but it will create great value, that business value that all of us can actually then create better experiences and features that all of us can actually utilize. So it is not going to take away jobs, but it's probably going to create better value jobs.
Yes, and Ronald in the chat has said something that is very aligned with what you just said, Samuel. Back in the 1980s, Motorola tried doing the factory of the future concept. Human load, unload processing internally was to be robotic, and it's safer to fix the crane than to lift the concrete. Still has a person doing it, he says. Yep. And Melanie, did you have anything to add to that question?
Oh, no, not really. I mean, we're going to always need people in the workplace. There is no way of getting around it. So I think as Samuel and both Alfredo has said, all it does is add more value to the people that we do have. So.
Great. Okay, I think we have time for one more question, and it is for Samuel. And the question is, how do you manage collaboration when you have team members in such different time zones in India and the US?
Yeah. And I think the three of us can take this question. I know even Siemens does a great job of having companies across the world and working cross collaboratively, right? One of the key things, or the basic principle that I talked even when I introduced myself, is to have the mindset of diversity and inclusion, right? When you want to have a workforce that is included and have diverse, there are ways of making things work. There are tools that can help you get productive. There are ways you can adjust your schedules. I start work close to 11 a.m. My time, and I end at around 7 or 8 a.m. 7 or 8 p.m. my time, right? That's my work day. But in the US, people come in to work at 7 a.m. and they work till 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m. So we have overlap time. We figured out ways that can make us work. And it is not necessary that you impose such things on people. People will find a way to collaborate if there is a mindset of inclusion and diversity. I think that is key. And if organizations embrace that, people would eventually embrace it. And I think the effects are tremendous. And you know, Alfredo and Melanie can add to it and say how they have seen success similarly in organizations across the globe.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's, you know, flexibility. I mean, that's why new normal is so important to us. Wherever people can work from anywhere, be flexible with their work time and their personal time. As long as you offering that flexibility to employees that you trust, and with all the digital and virtual options we have now, it can all be accomplished. So I like the direction that companies are going with digitalization and collaboration across countries. I mean, we're headquartered in Germany, so sometimes I have a 5 a.m. conference call, and I get up for that 5 a.m. conference call, and then I may go back to sleep, or I may move on to the next and start work earlier. But just flexibility is important.
Yes. Well, on that very positive note, let's go ahead and wrap it up. I'd like to thank our presenters, Alfredo, Samuel, and Melanie. I thought it was a fantastic discussion, and remind everyone that you can hear more about Siemens at 12:15, and enjoy the rest of the conference. It's been great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you, Cindy. Alfredo, Melanie, thank you. Honored to be with you.
Thank you, Sam. Pleased to meet you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Cindy.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us for this session. Next sessions are starting in just a few moments. If you are ready or need to view the schedule, you can go to futurelu.com/summit to see the entire schedule for today and join your next session. That concludes this session today, and we hope to see you in the next one. Thanks.